Hello students, today we are going to discuss about Geoffrey Chaucer's The Nun's Priest's Tale. The Nun's Priest's Tale, as you know, was part of the uh, what you can say, the plan of the Canterbury Tales. The Canterbury Tales, I am sure you have gone through it during your graduation, which is one of the best works of Geoffrey Chaucer, which was designed in the form of storytelling by the pilgrims while organizing a pilgrimage to the Canterbury. And the plan was that every person participating in that pilgrimage will tell a story while going to Canterbury and while coming back from Canterbury. So accordingly, each person will tell two stories, and in that way actually there will be lot amount of storage, which was the original plan of Canterbury Tales. But as you know, Canterbury Tales was never completed, so we have only the incomplete version of Canterbury Tales. But anyway, today we are not going to discuss about Canterbury Tales. Rather, we will concentrate primarily on the Nun's Priest's Tale, which is one of the best stories among all the stories told by different narrators in this design of storytelling. Now, before coming to Nun's Priest's Tale, I would like to give you a brief idea of the period of Chaucer, which is 14th century, you know that. And in your first paper, 101 paper, Social History of England, you have already gone through a lot on that period, the feudalism, which was basically the structure of the society, where everything depends on the lands and landlords and the peasants. There was a structure in it, in the social structure, which was determined by all this, the hierarchy that comes from king up to the serf level in that hierarchy, pyramid of that hierarchy. Anyway, it was this was a social political age where England has seen or witnessed a lot of change in the whole structure. There were many wars, and also the Black Death. You have come to know about the Black Death, the peasants' revolt, which is one of the very important event of that period, and also the power of the church, which is another very important aspect that needs to be discussed whenever we discuss Chaucer, because church was the most powerful institution, social institution, which controlled almost everything. Even the king was answerable to the church. So church became very powerful gradually, and also because of that power they had gained, there were ample examples of the church officials being corrupt in their performance, and which about which actually very beautifully Chaucer had presented these things in the Canterbury Tales. So this our topic of discussion, the Nun's Priest's Tale, is also told by one of the church officials, and that is nun's priest, the priest who was working under the nun, and he was one of the participants in the pilgrimage. And from his story actually we can learn many things, though apparently the nun's priest tale is a beast fable, where instead of human beings we find birds and animals taking part, talking and playing different actions. But then the nun's priest tale has layers of meanings in it, which we will certainly discuss. Now, what was the plan behind the Canterbury Tales? Why Canterbury Tales? Or why the pilgrimage to Canterbury? It is true that it was during Chaucer's time, pilgrims going to pilgrims to different places, religious places was a very popular social activity, you can say religious activity. And it was also, Chaucer basically took this as an opportunity to present different people coming from the various strata of the society, and he used it as a platform to present these people, whether it is ecclesiastical people having religious background, whether these are royal people. We have knight son, all these people also here in this pilgrim Canterbury Tales. And then we have a lot of people having ecclesiastical background, that is they belong to different church designations. Then we have people coming from the lower strata of the society, peasants. Those were considered to be the almost in the lowest strata in the pyramid. Then we have other people coming from other social classes. Then we have women in that pilgrimage. So all these variety of people constituted the basic structure of Canterbury Tales. And this structure was very beautifully used by Chaucer to peep into the socio-political and religious atmosphere of his time. A severe criticism is seen in this Canterbury Tale regarding the background of or their action of the church officials. Then we also see how women behaved, or what was the reaction against the behavior of women, women's position in the society in those days. This will we will discuss in Nun's Priest Tale, in relation to Nun's Priest Tale, in another lecture. But then here we can see all these things, and Canterbury Tale is very important, not because of the stories told by different people. Rather, it is very important as a platform where Chaucer brought people from all strata of the society, having different backgrounds, and used them, or with the help of them, he gave a very good history of 14th century England. Anyway, the stories reflected another side. Maybe the stories told by different characters, different people participating in Canterbury pilgrimage, reflected the narrator's personality, of course, the narrator's view of a certain aspect of contemporary aspect, you can say, and also the person's view regarding the prevalent ideas, moral and ethical ideas that was prevalent in during that time. So each of the tale reflect that also. If we come to Nance Priest tales background, we know that before Nance Priest was requested to tell a story, the monk was telling a story which was not very much liked by anybody, means other participants in the pilgrimage. Why? Because his story was full of violence. Now monk, if you read the prologue to the Canterbury Tales, you can very well understand the character of the monk, how he was presented. He was not much praised by Chaucer, and the story told by him, which was full of violence, was actually contrary to the position he holds or the background he was coming from. Being a religious person, a church official, his story should have some good moral lessons that could be taken as an example, very good example by the human beings, but instead of that he presented something totally different. And Harry Bailey was the host of the pilgrimage, it started from the Tavern. So Harry Bailey was then suggested that somebody should tell a tale which is full of moral lessons, which sounds good to the ears, and hearing which people can feel better actually after the monk's tale. And this is how the Nance Priest came forward to tell his story, and that is where we find the Nance Priest tale. Now Nance Priest tale, mostly we read as a beast fable, though it looks very simple actually. When we read this poem, in the first impression, somebody may find it like Aesop stories or the Panchatantra, which we used to read when we were children, where animals and birds talk, they behaved like human beings, they did all those things which were very surprising and pleasant to the little kids. So this kind of story otherwise just attracts the attention of small children. So what is so significant in Nance Priest tale then? Why this Nance Priest tale is prescribed for a student of master's course, having doing masters in English literature? So we will of course come to that. But then first thing is that it has layers of meanings in it. It is not simply a story of the cock and the hen and the fox, as we find Chanticleer, the cock, his wife, the hen, Partilot, and the fox, which is of course the villain of the piece. But then, is it something about cock, hen and fox alone? The critics find it having layers of meanings. In its overall form and overt moralistic purpose, if beast fable of course this poem is, but it very rapidly becomes a mock epic, and by its end has mingled epic, burlesque, parody, tragedy, dream vision and debate, romance and allegory. Now, if we want to understand the Nance Priest tale properly, you have to know all these terminologies. Why it is a burlesque, why it is a parody, how it becomes a tragedy, or where it exactly takes the turn of a tragedy. What is dream vision? Debate, of course, we understand because a basic poem structure is on the debate between Chanticleer and his wife Berthelot. Romance, we understand why it is a romance. Allegory, of course, we must unavoidably see this as an allegory. So before going to the proper Nanspre's tale and discussing various layered issues that underlies this poem, I would like you to know or understand all these terminologies with which we can link this poem. So fable or beast fable and beast fable are not same, but most of the fables are basically beast fable. A fable is a short narrative in prose or verse that exemplifies an abstract moral principle of human behavior. Usually, at its conclusion, either the narrator or one of the characters states the moral in the form of an epigram. Epigram is an extra part which is not directly related to the main narrative. Rather, it actually concludes what is said in the main narrative. That is epigram. An epigram in a fable generally states the moral relation or the gist of the kernel of the narrative. So beast fable is the commonest of all fables, and where as we have already said, this animals talk and act like human beings. From their action, from their wisdom, from their knowledge, from their behavior, we come to know about the behaviors of human world, and probably it is the most effective way to transform this knowledge, moral and ethical knowledge, to the human world. What is good, what is bad, what should be done, what should not be done. Because when we see them doing wisely, walking wisely, human world can learn more quickly about their own follies and mistakes. So we know how Nanspre's tale is a beast fable. How it is a mock epic then? Epic, you know, because you have Paradise Lost in this course. You have to read Milton's Paradise Lost. It is epic, where their characters are not ordinary human beings. Style of epic writing is grandeur, very lofty, high style is used to describe the events, which is unlike ordinary poetry writing. So mock epic or mock heroic poem is a type of parody which imitates in a sustained way both the elaborate form and the ceremonious style of epic genre, but applies it to narrate a commonplace or trivial subject matter. What we have learned now in epic style is a very lofty, high style where characters are also equally above ordinary human beings. So their actions are described in a very sophisticated way, using a very sophisticated language, sophisticated style of narrative. But then same style, same language is used to describe a very ordinary event, then it is called a mock epic or mock heroic style. In the second semester, you are going to read The Rape of the Lock by Alexander Pope. This is one of the best examples of mock heroic style. But then Naspri's Tale is also a very beautiful example of mock heroic style, where an everyday event is described with the same grandeur, same lofty style of an epic poem. But here the characters are cocks and hens and also a fox. Just compare this with Paradise Lost, where God is the protagonist, then Satan is the villain, but here the fox is the villain. The story is about Adam and Eve in Paradise Lost, but then here the story is on the cock and a hen, Chanticleer and Portillotte. So of course we will come to that also, but then for the time being, how Naspri's Tale can be seen as a mock epic that we have known. Also, it is called a dream vision. Dream vision is a verse narrative where the narrator falls asleep and experiences an allegoric dream. Whole action happens in the dream itself. Basically, dream visions are dream allegory. These are those where the narrator who describes the story or narrates the story basically sees the whole actions happening in the dream itself. Now, in Naspri's Tale, this is little bit. There is a little bit variation in here, because we have real actions in this poem, but the premonition, the happening, prior knowledge of what is going to be happen is seen in the dream by Chanticleer, because the basic debate in the poem is on dreams only, whether dreams are true or false, whether dreams have any significant role to play in real human life or not. This is the basic debate, because we know that in the beginning of the poem, Chanticleer actually awakes from his dream sleep after seeing seeing a very horrible dream, terrible dream, where he sees himself to be attacked by a very voracious animal. But here everything is not happening in the dream itself. Rather, dream is taken as an important agent of what is happening after that. So many things happens after that, or many layers of meanings are coming out, but this is also can be called a dream vision. Now, of course, the Naspri's Tale is an allegory. What is an allegory then? An allegory is a narrative, whether in prose or verse, in which the agents and actions, agents here means characters or other happenings that instigate a particular action, and also the setting in which the action takes place, or where the agents are acting on certain subjects. All these which are contrived by the author, contrived means very planned way, in a very planned way, plotted by the author to make coherent sense on the primary or literal level of significance, and at the same time to communicate a second correlated order of significance. I'll explain this too. One is the literal or primary level of significance, which means what we see is the literal or primary level of significance. Chanticleer sees a dream. After waking from his sleep, he discusses this dream with his wife Partilot. We see a very good debate between these two, having both of them two opposing views of dream. Then suddenly one day Chanticleer meets this fox in the air. He was attempted to be killed by the fox, but then initially though he was under the trap of the fox, but then later on, using his own wit, our own intelligence, presence of mind, Chanticleer could outwit the fox. This is the literal or primary level of meaning in this poem. Then what is the second correlated order of significance, which is in varied level in this poem? Then what we can say that what is the allegorical meaning means? Behind a simple narration of the story of Chanticleer's life, dream, debate, fox, and he's saving himself from the fox's grip. What is behind that actually? This is the surface meaning. What is there in the underneath of this story? This is what the second meaning of or order of significance, which is many actually. There is not a single second order of correlated order of significance. There are many. We can have views of the narrator. We have different narrators in this poem, where Chanticleer is one, Partilot is also one. Then there is the omniscient narrator, which is who is also presenting the story in a way. Maybe the priest himself who is speaking this story or who is telling these stories to the people, he is also one narrator. So in that way, different narrators are presenting different point of views. This is one meaning which we can of course relate to the human life. Then we can see another meaning, another thing, which is the relationship between Chanticleer and Partilot. How Chanticleer sees Partilot or her significance in his life. In that way, we can see how the priest view is somehow reflected in this story, because he was working under the nun. He's a nun's priest actually. So in that way, we can find out many correlated second order of significance in this poem. Then also tragedy. Tragedy is not, the poem is not a tragedy, because almost it took a very significant turn from tragedy, because Chanticleer, though he was caught by the fox and almost on the verge of being killed by him, suddenly it took a very significant turn in the poem, and then Chanticleer could escape from the grip of the fox by using his intelligence. So instead of relying on the dream, when Chanticleer used his own presence of mind, own intelligence, means instead of relying on the fate, because in the dream he saw himself being killed by a very terrible animal, and Chanticleer firmly believes that dreams are true and they have significant roles to play in human life. Now, if he would have stuck to this opinion, perhaps Chanticleer could not have been able to save himself. So instead of doing that, he used his own intelligence, and later on we find how he could very easily escape from the grip of the fox. So it was about to be a tragic tragic event in Chanticleer's life, but then suddenly it took a very pleasant turn. So we cannot call it a tragedy. Parody, it is also can be called a parody because like mock heroic style which used in this poem is also something related to this parody. Burlesque, as you know, is a larger terminology that encompasses many things. Actually, parody is just a part of this burlesque. A parody imitates the serious manner and characteristic features of a particular literary work, or the distinctive style of a particular author, other features of serious literary genre, and deflates the original by applying the imitation to a lowly or commonly inappropriate subject. In that sense, we can call this a parody of I don't know whether you have read Pilgrimage Progress, or of course Paradise Lost. Again, everything is parodied in this work. The serious style is used in a parodied manner in this poem. So parody is like that, serious manner and the other features of a very serious work is used in a very commonly and lowly subject matter. So in that sense, this is a very lowly subject matter. A widow's yard, she has animals and birds. Then Chanticleer the cock, he has 12 wives or some like that. Then his most loved wife, Partilot, who is also described like a queen actually, and Partilot's being is described like a king, and he like kings having many wives, he has also why he loves Partilot, and all these things. These are described in a very royal manner, but then on whom these descriptions are applied, it is applied on some cocks and hens. So in that sense, we can of course see Nun's Priest's Tale as a parody. So these are some aspects that may be seen in terms of the Nun's Priest's Tales. Romance, of course, it is, because a large part of the poem is based on the relationship between Chanticleer and Partilot, like the romance of knights and princes in royal descriptions we find in the medieval romances. Actually, it is also a very good imitation of medieval romance. You have already probably about what medieval romance is. So this is also a very good example of that romance. Just like the romance of kings and queens, Chanticleer and Partilot's romance is also equally described. So in that sense, this can be a scene in terms of romance even. Now we have almost found many ways in which the Nun's Priest's Tale can be seen. After going through the detail of the poem, I always suggest you to read the text. But in Nanspres tale, you may find the English little bit difficult because it is an old English which is not used now. But I think after reading of the poem, which is very important, or also the translation and the meaning of the happenings, you can easily relate all these various literary terminologies in relation to the Nanspres tale. So in my next lecture, I will discuss about the different layers of meanings that Nanspres tale or the simple story of the cock and hen will unfold. Thank you.